City of Harrah and the Harrah Public Works meeting simultaneously. Item 2, approve the minutes of the 5/4/2023 special meetings. You have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of special meeting.
I'll second it.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Gunkowski?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Rudick? Trent?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 3 is the consent agenda. I'd like to, on the city side, like to remove items C, E, and F. And on the rest of them, does anybody else have anything else they'd like to remove?
You said C, E, and F?
Yes, C, E, and F. No, we have to remove it for, I mean, we can remove, you can remove any item you like, and then we can discuss it, yeah.
I thought that's.
Well, and, you know, and let's go ahead and on the public works side, let's remove item B. Yeah, B. So we're gonna remove on the city side, C, E, and F, on the public works, item B. Anything else? We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing those items.
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda unless the items.
We have a second. Second.
Rudick?
Yes.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Gunkowski?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item C, I'm gonna go to on the consent agenda that we removed. It says Marty Burns will be acting city manager from May 30th to June 2nd. We need to change that to Jerry Chipman. Marty's gonna be gone some of those days as well, so we'll put Jerry as our acting city manager because Levi's gonna be off that week. He's going on vacation and inviting us. So we have a motion to accept Jerry as our acting city manager from May 30th to June 2nd.
I'll make that motion to accept Gary Chipman as the acting city manager from May 30th through June 2nd.
Second.
Rudick?
Yes.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Gunkowski?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Items E and F are agreements that we have with the county, and they're vague agreements. Don't know exactly why we're signing them, and so what I would like to do is just table these items until I can meet with Brian Mullen and just kind of get a clarification on, you know, and I think, Jerry, you told us before on the lease agreement out of there, that he leases our industrial park. It's $1 a year that he rents it for us, and we get a little bit of sand during the ice days. Is that about all we get? And overall, what, a dump truck load a year, is that basically what we've probably been getting lately?
Probably.
So I'd like to see, you know, just sit down and visit with Brian and just see what our, you know, what he's offered us, and then I go back through some of his general mutual agreement, which is item E. I mean, it says that,
But now therefore it gets about all the things that they can do.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
That's my issue.
That's fine, so I want to clarify before we make a decision. So on item B and E, I'd like to table those. Does anybody have any problem with that?
No problem.
Okay.
I had trouble reading these and trying to figure out what
Yeah.
he does for us and what we get.
Okay, and then I'm gonna jump back over to item D, which is Myers Engineering. And I was just gonna bring this to everyone's attention as reading, doing this. This is, the approved Myers invoice, 223071-9, Harrah project vetting analysis, 23 sanitary sewer. This $5,300 is the design that he did and worked out for us to look at the sewer line of improving down Harrah Road is what that was. And so, you know, we just want to be careful. This is not a bid item. You know, it wasn't something that it's an invoice that he's sending us for designing that stuff that we took to the Oklahoma Water Resources. I'm not saying we don't need to pay it, but we did some work and we put maps together and design. So,
Right.
but I'm just letting everybody know what it is.
Because it appeared to me the funds, once it's done and we used it, those funds are committed. I mean, you're basically committed to pay them.
Yeah, we, on the ORWB. Is that, yeah, we committed to have him do what he's done, yes, so, yeah, I'm not saying we don't, I just wanted everybody to know why,
What it was
what
for.
it's for, that's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying let's not pay it.
Yeah,
I think we gotta pay it.
Yeah, it wasn't real clear that it was attached to the Oklahoma Water Resources.
Yes.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to approve Myers' invoice?
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice for the sanitary sewer main replacement.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Scalzo,
Yes.
Rudick,
Yes.
Pankowski,
Yes.
Kozowski,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes. I think we got through all the consent agenda now, so
Okay.
there. Let's jump down to, item 5A, discussion possible action to approve or deny preliminary plat for Golden Hills Estate.
Good evening, David Box, 522 Falkport Drive. I have the applicant, Mr. Pat Garrett, who's also here with us. This is a preliminary plat on the piece of property that'll look familiar. We came through with a PUD some many months ago, and it was ultimately denied by City Council. So we are now coming back with a plat that is in conformance with all of the regulations that the City of Harrah has for single-family development. So we're asking you to approve that plat, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, you made a comment just now that you said that the PUD was denied.
Yes, sir.
That's really not a true statement. The true statement was that night it was approved with some stipulations, and then y'all came back and withdrew what we talked about, if I recollect that correct.
I don't think so, and I'm actually reading from your staff report that says a PUD request was denied by the city. So
It was denied the second time you came back, am I correct about that? The first time they came in and we had some stipulations and
It was a
and
stipulation
we
for
it passed that night.
the zone around it. And then, what do you call it, the green thing?
That green belt.
The green belt around it, and then when you came back, you said we weren't gonna do that.
And that's when it got.
And that's when it changed. But,
It's like,
but, yeah, it's still, in effect, it was still denied because of that, is that correct?
yes,
Okay.
but I just want to clarify that it
Yes.
was not denied right.
Right, we weren't.
We approved it up front.
Right.
So, but we was in favor for the PUD, is what we was. And then when it changed and went back, that's where the council kind of said, okay, we're changing our mind, we're doing different things, and it's kind of looked at a little bit different than what we looked at. Any comments?
I was just, we can ask questions, right?
Yes, sir. Any questions? I think some of the
I
others
just-
want to speak as well.
This is a preliminary plat. And there were, I'll just go to the engineering piece, where they answered a bunch of questions. We got the engineer here, right?
Yeah, Michael Rudy's here, yes.
Yeah, Mike was here. Said you reviewed the latest submittal of the preliminary plat, find that it satisfied all the previous review comments. So the review comments that you had on here, these are all the things, and, like, the sewer main will need to be extended. So they put that in the updated drawing or the updated plat, right?
Yeah, they made all the
You
changes.
say they've satisfied it, so he's satisfied it, the sewer main will need to be extended in block 17. You have to label something a public utility. So all those things, he's satisfied,
Yes.
correct? Okay. The questions that were there that had to do with the HOA, he gave an answer to as well. And I know that HOAs really aren't an issue for us to be for or against. Is that correct? I mean, that's what the attorney, so I don't hold up a preliminary plat because of an HOA and questions that we have about an HOA. That's not my issue. My issue is that you satisfy the code, the ordinance, whatever, for building in a, what was it, R1?
R1 and R2.
Yeah, that you satisfy those requirements.
I believe you framed the issues correctly.
Yeah, so the HOA is not my issue to make a vote on. All right, and I just want that clarified, because people are going to sit there, well, you know, you're gonna do this because I can't do that. That's not in my purview for the HOA legally. So I wish, and that's, at the last meeting that came up, and we talked about that. I'm not saying I disagree with the questions in there. What I'm saying is this is a preliminary plat. So,
And at this point, and on the final plat, I'm guessing we're gonna have some traffic studies on 15th Street as well, is that correct?
Whatever your engineering staff tells us we need to do is what we'll do.
Okay. Because the traffic that we're gonna add to 15th Street and all, and the Harrah Road, or, you know, I think we need to have those studies done, so we can have, you know, just to make sure, because right now, and I think some of the neighbors that live up that street as well can tell you, at 5 o'clock in the evening when the prison's getting off duty, that intersection gets backed up pretty quick.
Sure.
So, and then you put 600 homes up there and you start dumping, either people start to cut through that neighborhood and try to get back on Harrah Road another way and create a problem, so.
but I, as a preliminary plat,
And I'm talking
all
about-
these questions that need to be, that the citizens want answered, can be answered as we move to the final, and should be answered before we get to the final plat, or if they're not answered correctly, then, you know, and it's not within guidance or within the code, I mean, then you don't have to approve it. I mean, but if they meet everything, and there's a number of studies that they'll get to review, the citizens will get to review before that final plat is approved. And the questions are much more important at that time than in the preliminary. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, final has to be, your I's gotta be dotted and T's crossed
Right.
on the final. This one's a preliminary. So
This
that's-
is preliminary.
Because, I mean, kinda like detention pond where they put it here.
Right.
It may need to adjust down when it's actually being done.
Right, and that's where they will get into it and say, you know, in the final plat, yay or nay on that, that really needed to be moved or something.
That is correct. Joe, I think you said you wanted to say something.
I'm Joe Savisha, I think you all know me. I lived on one side of this city for 21 years, Midwest City for 13 years, south side of the city for 58 years. I'll be 93 years old, 28th June. I know you people have done a lot of work on this development, but I've got a petition against it. We've always been against it. I have a petition signed by 99% of the residents who own property adjacent to and residents who live near the proposed Golden Hills development. 102 people to be exact, that are opposed to this development being approved. We don't want it. It is not compatible to our rural surroundings, and we don't need the problems it will cause. I really don't understand how anyone could vote to approve this development against the wishes of 99% of the property owners and residents who have signed this petition opposing this development. Please vote against it. let your conscience be your guide.
Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir.
So we're talking about preliminary plats versus final plats and stuff like that, so I understand all that. But the issue with 15th Street, putting a turning lane in there, aren't you gonna have to encroach on the properties on each side of 15th Street in order to put a turning lane in there?
There's somewhat of an easement there already. I'm not for sure if it's a 50-foot easement or not.
So would that be part of a preliminary plan?
It wouldn't be part of, it'd be part of the final plat, if required to do. DOT, if I'm not mistaken, Michael, DOT will get involved with this at some time as far as looking at the traffic we're dumping on that, is that correct?
They should for the entrances onto Harrah.
Yeah, so that will happen on the final plat is when all of that will come about.
All right. I just wanna make sure we didn't need to get it in there now.
Yeah.
That it can go in there later.
It can go in there like that.
Okay. Also on this preliminary plan, there are some known issues with it. The engineer has acknowledged there are some known issues with it. The one that I see that they really aren't concerned with, or they really haven't taken a look at, is the water drainage that comes from the top of the hill on the south side of 15th Street. It crosses underneath the road in a culvert, and it currently runs across the Golden Hills property. So I just wanna make sure that's taken into account, and it's not pushed down the street through the drainage ditch, down the street, up over a rise, and then it comes onto my property. So that would increase the water flow down the creek that goes through my land, right? So I'm not in a budding property, I'm more than 300 feet away, so, right now it doesn't affect me, but if you start running water down that hill and up over that hill and down that creek, it's gonna start draining through my land, and that's when it's gonna affect me. So just wanna bring that up, something else for you to think about.
So when you said the engineers have a problem with it, I don't see that in here. What, is that in your questions and answers here?
That didn't get picked up, but we have discussed that with the engineer of the project. He's aware of the culvert.
So, Mr. Garrett,
Yes, his
Okay.
engineer, the developer's engineer.
his engineer.
Yes.
So that you're working that issue, so.
When he does the storm sewer design plans, that
Right.
will be addressed. It's not addressed in the preliminary.
It's not yet, we don't have it yet, and then in doing all that, nothing is supposed to leave the property at greater than the historical rate that it leaves it now, is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if the water is currently crossing the project as this culvert that he's pointing out, it will need to remain to go that way. They can't change the direction and push it off in a direction that it was not going historically onto his property, where it's.
Has to go the historical route.
Yeah, you try to keep it at the historical route. And that's a main creek that crosses his property, basically. He doesn't want it diverting and going in front of his house, he wants it to go to that creek. And we were made aware of it, he's brought it to our attention, and we brought it to the attention of the engineer at a meeting.
Yeah, we met the engineer out there and walked the property.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. Sorry.
Good point.
It's not that smooth up there. Oh, and just last of all, you guys have listened to me for months, and I appreciate you listening. I appreciate everybody that came out and took a look at the property line, walked the property line with me to see all the things that you don't see on a piece of paper or on a survey that's up at the county courthouse, how the land flows, how the rises go. There's a rise that's on that drawing that says 8 feet, and it's probably a minimum of 15 feet up that hill. So, there's a lot you can see by coming out and taking a look at it, and I appreciate everybody that came out and looked at it and has listened to me for the last couple of months. And know, if I could get anything out of this, it would be that turn lane, because that's what's gonna affect me the most. So, appreciate it.
See what we can do. Anybody else? I'm gonna close the public hearing. I'm gonna close the public hearing and, go right ahead.
No, I was gonna say, it just, sounds like there might be some traffic issues there, if there's a thought of maybe putting a, and I know it's probably a bad word to say, but a traffic light to help the flow of that.
I have visited with DOT with Trent January about that, and he said at this time that, you know, they cannot do it, they can't justify one at this time. So that was. the vision he-
Later day, we probably.
Yeah, later day he might, but the division engineer with DOT, ODOT, says that.
Did they put that in writing for you?
No, he didn't, but he would.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in writing.
I can send,
No.
I can send him an email.
Can't do that.
He'll respond.
And then, it may be that it needs to wait until you get to the point in the developing this thing from the preliminary plat to the final, that it occurs somewhere in there that this guy says, oh, you don't need a traffic signal there or something, but.
But there are some accidents, I know with Reno and I'm not sure about the 15th stuff, so I mean.
Heck, I have trouble getting on that road, making a left-hand turn from Reno onto Harrah Road.
Maybe tell somebody, 2, 3, 5 people get killed before they're gonna make the decision. So that seems to be the norm, so, but anyway, I thought we might be trying to see if we get proactive with that, we try and
I guess it's the one thing loss of life is okay in before they do something, where before they wanna prevent it all the time, now.
But it's not, once you lose life, then it's.
Oh, now it's
Now
okay.
Well, the reason why I say that is because there is that one grant from the USDOT that it's, well, it's coming through ACOG, but you can do it, that we can apply for, but basically it's for safe roads and stuff, and they mentioned that, you know, it sounded like that they're trying to do, of course, a lot of it is, because they've had deaths and stuff, they're talking about that, and that'd be safe, but I think that they'd be interested in doing a proactive deal, knowing that you're gonna have 500 homes there and businesses there, and then technically you're gonna have other stuff.
And that's where they'll wind up and look at the whole thing, and when they see the traffic is gonna come on to Harrah Road, and how they're gonna come on to Harrah Road, do the addition off of 15, they will look at that one. Anything else? According to the staff report and engineers, everything meets the code for a preliminary plat, is what it meets. It meets all of our requirements and all that, so.
I'm gonna ask this question one more time.
Yes, sir.
I can't really tell somebody what to do with their land as long as they're meeting code. I have no right whatsoever.
To a point. I mean, to a point. You know, we can sit here and say we want sidewalks throughout that whole addition. We want
I
sidewalks.
understand that, but do you do that in the preliminary plat?
I mean, Michael, would you do that at the preliminary plat? If we want sidewalks throughout that whole addition?
It's probably best to tell them at the preliminary stage, so that
Okay.
when they get into design, if they plan on it.
Okay. Because I definitely would want sidewalks throughout the whole subdivision. I think that makes a nicer subdivision and all.
You know, they ask questions that didn't have to do with the HOA. What kind of curbs are you gonna put in? You know, since it's gonna be, the houses are gonna be kind of close together, and do you have the wherewithal with that? I guess meets code just means it'll drain. You know, they have some sort of curb there.
I thought I read in here that they're either gonna do an 8-inch or a 4-inch laid back is what I thought I read in here. I'm looking at that, or maybe looking at something else. You know what kind of curb y'all gonna be doing by any chance?
Not this time.
Not this time.
Okay, so if that's the answer I'm gonna get every time we ask, I mean, so in this, I could say, wait a minute. Do we have the power to say, yeah, I want sidewalks and I want curbs like this, or does it always, do you have to wait for the final plat and then say, I disagree with that after they've spent all the money on it to put it together?
I think the more that we tell them now, put in the preliminary plat, when they're coming back to their final plat, then that we're not denying them on the final plat when they come back. So I think we have it now.
You know, these two additions that went in down here on Dobbs, both of them on Dobbs, they got nice curves in there, and you have nice streets, it's very nice, compared to some other streets that we have that have the laid-back things that are almost flat, that are breaking up. I don't want that, I want something that looks nice, I believe he'll build something that looks nice, that's how you sell stuff, is if you.
So is that why the planning commission denied it based on the fact that they had questions, some of the questions were like on sidewalks, additional driveways, spacing and stuff, and, curving.
Everything, every answer was not at this time. As I remember listening.
We're here saying that, it needs to be addressed before we do final plat, curbing, stuff like that, so if they're not willing to answer that.
Well, or, I'm not so sure it's a willing to answer, it's does the city have the authority to say, these are the kind of curbs we want in there? Or, we want, I know we can say we want sidewalks in there.
I don't think.
I don't think you can say the curb.
I don't think you can say the curbs.
Because that just has to meet code.
But this, this has to be, and on, when Guy wrote the report on 320, I mean, in the second paragraph, he does state that the roads will meet Harrah standards, and they may either be 5.25 asphalt or 6-inch concrete. They will either have a 6-inch barrier curb or a 4-inch mountable curb. So I did read that in that, like I say.
Okay.
So it does state that they are doing curbs, and so they're
Of some sort.
Yeah, I don't say
Not-
which one.
Are those counted as curbs?
They're both counted as curbs, even if they're laid back, yes.
No, wait a minute, I'm very familiar with the old rolled ones,
Right.
okay? That addition off of Reno doesn't have rolled curbs, it has just a little
Angle. That's
angle,
That's still considered a curb.
and we consider that a curb.
Yeah, because it puts.
And that's just wonderful.
What a curb really does is it just puts a drainage flume in there, is all that does.
I understand.
That's all it does.
I understand, and it makes it, cheaper for you builders to not have to tear out a curb and redo a curb and do a driveway if we put curbs in, so, oh, there's a cost thing I'm gonna put in there.
Cost,
Yeah. But
But as far
I'm
as.
still looking for any developer there to develop something that looks nice, to develop something that will last, not just throw it in there, sell the thing. So I'm still looking for something that looks halfway decent. I know there's a bunch of people against it, but if it's code, it's code. It's preliminary. So legally, what can you do?
Well, I'm just.
Except for sidewalks that you just said.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking at for a previous example that has happened with a certain area. I won't mention the area, which I don't think some of the stuff met the code, but they still did it anyway. I mean, that's the city's fault.
That's the city's
Still.
fault. That's the city's fault. We have codes, this is the code, this is what it says right now. The developer can meet those codes, so be it. There's not much you can do.
But I'm looking at this maps here, it's kind of hard to read. I can blow it up. What's the spacing between the houses?
I have no idea, it meets the R1.
Yeah, I think R1 in Harrison, it's 10 feet, if I'm not mistaken, between houses in R1. Now, PUD, you can change it to 5 foot, but in an R1,
Yeah,
I think it's
in the
10 foot.
PUD.
In the PUD. 20 foot on the turn. Yeah, 20 foot on the side road, on the curve or something like that, so between the two houses, I mean, they'll be 20 foot apart, so if you build 7-foot lots, 50-foot wide houses, you can put on that lot, if I'm not mistaken.
By the way, I've talked this before, you can throw a sidewalk in there, but if that house is only set back a certain amount, and you park in that driveway, and you cover the sidewalk, this kid can't go by.
Yeah, and I won't
Okay,
disagree. but-
so depending on what you call it, setback or whatever, that, and where the developer throws the sidewalks in, you know, whether there's an island between the curb and the sidewalk, which doesn't seem to be very popular anymore.
Well, you probably, off the street alone, and I can't read what the building line is, and maybe one of y'all can tell me that. Is it a 25-foot building line? Is that what that is? 25-foot building line, and that 25-foot building line is from the property line. So the property line sometimes another 5 or 10 feet back from the curb as well.
All I know
But you can't, you have park a big
is a
building.
23-foot crew cab dually Ford is not gonna be parked in there without going over the sidewalk, so. I argued that with Ideal Homes, and actually, they did a really good job of explaining and showing me a lot of that stuff when they took me on a little tour, so, they satisfied me with it, I'm happy with the homes they're building. I hope I'll be happy with the homes they're building here, it's really not up to me, but.
Is there anything on the final plat that y'all would like to see other sidewalks? In your common areas, is this gonna be private common areas, is that right?
They'll be owned by the HOA. So the common areas will be owned by the HOA, will be funded by the HOA.
Yeah, and this is where we got into an issue on one of the last plats that we did was, if it's funded by the HOA, controlled by the HOA, not the developer, has the power to say whether it's public or private, right? I mean, and if it starts out private, here, I'll do this again, if it starts out private, it does not have to be handicap accessible. The minute they open it up to the public, let the public use their common areas, then it has to be handicap accessible.
I believe that.
That is the way it works. Yeah.
Now, no neighborhood has a public common area. I mean, they're all owned by that HOA. To be a public space
Well,
means
I
it's
know,
owned
but
by
I
the
mean,
government.
you let the general public in. There are parks in these neighborhoods where they let the general public in, okay? Meaning, I'm just driving through, here's a nice neighborhood, they got a nice little park in there, I stop, nobody's gonna kick me out, I wanna, let my kids play on the equipment, that's what I mean by it's open to the public. I don't mean public as in government, but it's generally open, it's not fenced off and only for the use of the people in that neighborhood. And that's how it's actually worded, and then the minute somebody, if you do have one like that where it's private for them, it can remain that way, absolutely does not have to be handicap accessible. If I move into the neighborhood and I am disabled, it would be my responsibility I could make it handicap accessible for me if I had to put a ramp in, but it would be at my expense, that's how it works, okay? And then, they could take it out if they wanted afterwards, but anyway, all I'm saying is, are these going to be, well, what I'm really saying is the HOA, that's not really the developer, that's the HOA that's dealing with those things.
That's right.
So, although we would try to make those things, if you're putting in the common area, are you putting in playground equipment, stuff like that, or do you plan, I know you probably don't know at this time, however, if you were, would the equipment be handicap accessible?
So that would be a decision by the builders at the time of development.
I think on the final plat, you could determine on telling us what the common areas are gonna be used for, is it gonna be trails, it's gonna be playground, and that kind of, on the final plat, we can find out what the common areas are actually gonna be used for.
Yeah, once we're to a final plat stage, that means we're ready to turn dirt, that means we know who probably the builders are gonna be and what kind of amenity package is likely.
So the things I'd like to see on the final plat, I mean, this, y'all can do whatever. I mean, I'd like to see sidewalks. I think that we would like to see some type of traffic study on 15th Street coming off of it to know if they need a turn lane or not. Because, if we start looking at the traffic that comes down at rush hour from the prison alone, much less you have however many homes, and I don't know how many homes are gonna exit off on the Harrah Road, how many homes are gonna exit off at 15th Street. So you're gonna force more traffic on it, and then you got a morning rush hour where everybody's going to work and getting out on 15th Street. And so the turn lane, what it would do, it would alleviate anybody, if they're wanting to go to the turnpike, they can turn right without the car turning left in front of them and holding up everybody, so.
And that's a developer responsibility?
That shows, I think the traffic study would be the developers, is what I would think.
I mean, they would have the state do it, or they would have an engineer do it?
They'd have an engineer do it.
Traffic.
They'd have an engineer.
So what time do we know about size of homes, what size?
The thing about it would be an R1, we don't have any say so. Okay. I mean, he could be honest, truth, I mean, I don't know. He could build 500 square foot homes throughout it, if that's what he chose to do. Hopefully won't, probably won't, and the reason why is because he's not gonna make any money on 500 square foot homes, I mean, it costs too much, you know, so he, especially for the size lots that he has to do, and I mean, if I was to take a guess, he's probably gonna build 1,800 square foot homes, that we don't have any say so.
But we really can't build many homes.
Yeah, with an R1, we don't have a
I
minimum
won't
size.
go down there, but all right,
Any home with a big lot.
yeah, okay.
We don't have any,
Given the issue we had with size of streets at one point, there's a minimum size to the streets that go through.
yes.
And that's in here already, but for sidewalks, is there a minimum size for sidewalks? I know there is for ADA requirements.
We can specify that we want 4-foot wide sidewalks.
Right.
We can specify. I mean, but minimum size is 36 inches, if I'm not mistaken.
It is 36 inches, but you have to have a passing zone every so many hundred feet for wheelchairs. But that would be taken into account in driveways, so you really don't have an issue there, because a driveway would take care of that. But yeah, so 36 inches is the direct path, and that's fine. Because a person can pass in driveway.
So if we had, so on the final plat, if we know about traffic studies, turn lane, common areas, and 4-foot sidewalks, and which parkland is common area, anything else?
Or, is lighting, is that responsible of the homeowner association, or is that?
Like you're talking street lighting or whatever. That would be, I don't think you can do anything with street lighting. I mean, that'd be up to the developers, or if, because HOA may sit here and say, you can't do it. You know, because there's some people, they go up there and put a light out in their yard, and the neighbors don't like that light shining in their window. So, that's strictly up to the developer, I believe, on the street lighting. It's no code rules or anything, because they could put lights up there and see things. Or is that with the homeowners? That would be either homeowners association, putting traffic street lights.
It'd be an awful big cost after the fact. I mean, it's nice to have street lights on the corner, here and there.
Anything else? Do we have a motion to approve the changes or deny? As far as reading through everything, I know no one's overly excited at the moment,
But the thing is,
it meets.
it meets it,
And that's
and
where
I've had the attorneys tell me before, it meets it, you have no reason to not make
The only reason, if they do these changes, then,
Correct.
then, you know, that's where we're at. So really, you know, basically, we've got to be really, honest.
But I mean, it's,
The developer's met what he has to meet
that's
for.
been that, well, that's what I was kind of curious why, because, you know, generally, we go along with the lot, we work in conjunction with the planning commission, and when they voted it down, I was like, okay, you know, and I know they didn't get answers to their questions, but is that the only reason why they voted it down? That's my question. You know, Jeff?
Jeff, he went on, me and Steve will be there, but it met, the city requires us, they just didn't get some answers, it was not required to be answered at that time.
So we're talking sidewalks,
Yes.
and you said 4 foot, what else did you have?
One for the, traffic study, for traffic, if you know the Harrah Road, traffic study for a turn lane on 15th Street. And kind of not necessarily, but what do they do with their common areas, just kind of, is it gonna be just done with field, or are they gonna put playground equipment, just don't know what they're doing with their common areas. They can all be detentions.
Well, it said in there that they wouldn't all be detention.
Yeah, it did, but I'm just,
Yeah,
but I'm
it
just
said
making a
they
comment.
wouldn't,
But it
wouldn't all be detention, so.
We have a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the preliminary plat with the addition of a 4 foot sidewalk, traffic study for, getting out onto Harrah Road and turn lane 15th Street. It's preliminary plat.
Do I have a second? Once again, this meets all requirements. Do we have a second?
Well, I'll go ahead and second it, put it out there to a vote.
Scalzo,
Yes.
Rudick,
No.
Stankowski. No. Rosowski,
No.
Grant.
Yes.
Motion denied.
Next item. Discussion possible action on the bar area on Main Street. You wanna say anything about that or not, or?
I think we pretty well presented a couple meetings back what we're looking at. So,
The thing that I look at on the bar area right now, and this is me, and y'all need to figure out what we're gonna do, and this is really what we're gonna do, is we're gonna let it be opened up on whatever time frame as a beer garden. But we just had 2 instances in town where we had 2 portable buildings moved into town. And when those portable buildings were moved in, they did not meet city code or requirements, and we had made them move. But yet we have a building, that we're setting precedents that you can't do this, but we can. The thing of it is that building don't meet, it's a portable building, it's been moved in. So my opinion is that the city needs to either dispose of it or move it somewhere else. That it states that it cannot, we cannot have portable buildings
But with that, we don't care about the building, we're still interested in leasing the alley. We don't consider it a bar, we consider it a common area. So if you wanna take the building, we really don't care. So
We
this,
might even consider taking the building away ourselves.
The common area, what I would recommend with the common area is that the city just puts some picnic tables out there and lets anybody who wants to use it as a picnic area, so they eat their chicken or take the Sonic burger or whatever they want down there. That's what I'd recommend with the area. But as far as building, I think we need to move it, or do something with it.
Well, we'll just take it down, we'll do the expense to it. We'll take the expense off. We won't get rid of it. We just wanna use the area down there, so it's rich.
Yeah, it just, it is what it does, open the area up for you.
I'm trying to use it as, for us to use it, it doesn't work, it's not designed correctly. Just take it down, great scenery there, we'll maintain it for you.
But it isn't a building that somebody else could use portable somewhere else?
Sure.
I would also, real quick, point out, the Friends of the Park supplied almost all the materials and labor to put that building in.
Yeah.
And the city approved it at that time. They let them do it, they helped even. So my first thing on the building, if you're gonna take it away, is give the Friends of the Park the opportunity to use it for whatever they want, take the materials, whatever, but they invested that money.
Right.
Not us, Friends of the Park.
Yeah, I understand.
And we'll move it to our expense. We'll take all the utilities to it, we just mowed it, we'll maintain it, keep it clean for y'all. And we'll pay you money.
I think the first thing that we do, we're just talking about the bar area there, is that, we'll contact the Friends of the Park and see what they want to do. I think they want to, is there anybody here from the Friends of the Park? Okay. You know what you did with it and what you want to do with it?
I mean, if it's decided that they want it to be removed, then we can discuss as a team where we want it or what we want to do with it. I mean, I will have to confer with the rest of the group, but we can discuss that.
You would let us know, and make a decision on that. And once we determine on what they do with that, their building, then we can determine what we're going to do with the alleyway as far as, and, we want to put a time frame on doing something with that.
So what are you gonna do?
We're gonna let the Friends of the Park, maybe, if they're the ones that invested.
If they want the building, we'll take it to them.
Okay.
If they don't
Yeah,
want
I'll
the
just
building,
ask.
we'll tear it down and get rid of it. Simple.
But we gotta have an answer from the people that own it, not you. You don't have, you're not.
You guys own it.
My understanding is they did the
Yes, but.
the material workup, you all helped. Talking to who I know at the Friends of the Park, they said it was then, in a sense, donated to the city. So it is city property, but I would just think that the expense that they put into putting that together, they should have an opportunity.
That's what I'm trying to
Right.
do.
But it should stop the vote tonight.
Can we determine if we're gonna get rid of it?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's what we want.
Get rid of it. Give it to us.
We get that. That, you're right, remove that from the issue.
Yep.
Okay, remove that from the issue. It's either going to go somewhere to the Friends of the Park, they decide that it, or it's not. We make that decision, so it's either they take it, want it, or it gets torn down if they don't want it. But if this issue is about the bar building itself, and that's it, then yes, we might have to wait for something, but it says action on the bar area. I'm assuming that to mean whether we might want to lease it to Sweeney Switch or not. Is that what?
I put it on there for the beer garden itself, that building is what my intentions on that.
Okay.
A beer garden technically is an area attached to a license. So that's not a beer garden. Okay, fair enough?
The bar area,
Right.
the bar area.
Okay, this is
It's
the
an
area
alley,
that
it's
has
not
a
a
building
bar.
on it that we serve certain things out of, sometimes liquor, sometimes cotton candy. It is not a bar, it's not a bar area.
And what he says, that is what the Able Commission guy said, because you end up with a beer garden in the park when you make an area, right? Yeah, when you're open, that becomes a beer garden, so, you know, that could become a beer garden.
On our events that are licensed and approved by the city, which we have 6 of them, yes, people will be able to consume beer in that area if we are in charge of it. Be part of our licensing with Able Commission. And that's the only time that you can consume beer in that area unless we don't lease it, the city keeps it, somebody can go down there, crack open a beer and sit there and have a beer. Correct? Correct? for what the-
That's a fine line there, I mean.
But that would be the same as like having the wine or the beer in the park.
They,
So-
the guy basically said, unless we have an ordinance against it, yes, I could go down there and drink beer.
We do have.
Okay,
Very outdated ordinance.
yeah.
But it don't, it's still an ordinance,
I
it's
know,
in place.
from 1986, I think we looked it up.
Well, I think the issue with that is,
It's still
can
valid.
we just get rid of that thing, yeah? Can we make the vote, get rid of the building?
Yes.
Can we do that?
Yes, we can.
What do we need to vote on? Because we have an ordinance against portable buildings.
Well,
You have to move it out.
we have. to-
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but it was built by somebody, given to the city. Just move the building. We don't need to vote on anything. It conforms to the ordinance that we have in place.
What's on the agenda is to vote to lease it to the Swing Switch merchants. That's what's on the agenda.
No,
It's
Doesn't
not.
say that.
no, it's on the bar area. They don't have to-
Did we not have that on a previous agenda? There was not a previous discussion that was tabled. Okay, at the end of the day, we want to lease it. And we don't want the bar in there. We want to use it for our events, we want to keep it clean, and we sort of help keep the Swing Switch dream going.
You'll pick up all the trash on Main Street too?
Sure.
Okay. In my front yard, okay. In the streets, the
So-
beer
so
cans,
really,
all that?
Right now, I mean, we don't have anything on here about leasing that area.
Was it not on a previous thing that was tabled?
That was about, yes, that was.
Yes, it was.
So we'll put it back on there next
So
time.
this isn't,
It don't matter, if it's not on here, I can't put it on.
once it was tabled, you said you can't bring it back on something that was tabled?
It has to be back on the agenda when we table it.
Why was it not on the last agenda? It
Um,
specifically says in the minutes, not necessarily the bar area, but the stage was to be on the last agenda. It's in the minutes.
The stage is on this one, if I'm not mistaken. We declared it
No,
surplus.
last meeting. The meeting, this was 2 meetings ago. The minutes that you approved specifically state the stage was to be on the last
In the bar
meeting,
area.
not this meeting.
Okay, the last meeting was a
It
special
was at
meeting.
4 o'clock, yeah.
So this is a regular meeting that
Oh,
we put
okay.
on. So
Okay.
There you go. But anyway, you know, we're,
Can we just get, hey,
Yeah.
just do it right, we just get rid of the daggone building?
yes.
So I think, I understand what you're saying, but
But we
I
do-
think the calm,
We need to
down,
put it-
let's just go ahead and put it.
Well, here's the
down.
thing, we need to put a time frame on getting rid of it. I mean, if we're gonna give them 30 days or whatever, or if not, is the city gonna remove it at their expense?
Is it our building or is it someone else's building?
It's our building. It's the
Then
city
we can
building.
decide what we want to
That's
do
right.
with it.
That's
We
right.
can go move it tomorrow if
Well,
that's what we want to do.
We can.
Please.
They're willing to take it, get rid of it.
Yeah, if they want it,
They-
we'll
they
give
can
it
do
to
whatever
them.
they want. That's why I said this is.
Well, that's where you need to talk to the
That's-
park
that's it.
board.
That's where she needs to.
It's
the
Friends of the
Friends
Park. Friends of the
Friends of
Park.
the park.
And that's why I
We need to
said, if you
actually
get back
ask
to this-
them, do they want it?
Yeah, but the consensus is, we can get rid of
The-
it.
the- Yes, the consensus is it's moving.
So here's, let's give Friends of Park, till the 1st of June, they can give us an answer what they wanna do with it. That ought to be fair.
Yes.
1st of June, if they don't, if they wanna remove it, then the city will have it removed. So, and that can be, the city manager can take care of that at that point.
So you're saying, once the Friends Park say you want it removed, and the city manager will be responsible for getting it gone?
If the Friends of the Park say they don't want it,
Yep,
then the city will take care of how they're gonna dispose of it.
perfect, and that'll be the city manager.
That'd be the city manager.
Correct.
And they have till June 1st. we have a problem with that?
It won't take us longer than that to decide.
Yeah, but just to make a decision. I mean, I didn't say they had to remove it by June first, they need to give us an answer by June first, they give us an answer, then we'll come up with a date on.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
So I'm confused, you just said that once they say they get it.
Once they said, that if they tell us they're not doing it, then we're gonna have the city manager take care of it. If they tell us they wanna keep the building and do something with it, I will probably give them a full 30 days to get the building out of there.
I
will
understand,
probably do
what I'm
that.
saying, what I'm asking you is this, once the Friends of the Park want the building, and they tell you where to move it, that information is given to our city manager, and that city manager will get that taken care of.
Well, no, the Friends of the Park is gonna take care of moving it all, if they're gonna do it.
Oh, the city's not gonna move it for them.
Not if the Friends of the Park wants it,
If
they're gonna
they
take care,
want it.
if they want it, they're
Want
taking
it.
care of it.
Okay,
The
so
Friends
then
of the
we,
Park is
they
taking,
want it tomorrow, we move it Tuesday, then it's good.
that's good,
That's
yes,
good.
that's good.
And we have permission to take it and move it off.
Well, it's Friends of the Park that has permission.
If they
If they decide.
want it.
Okay,
If they don't,
and they could call us to move it.
they can call whoever they want.
So it's theirs to give away.
At the moment, yes.
And then can the lease subject be on our very next agenda?
We can put the lease in the ground on the next meeting. Yes.
Yeah, I just have a question about that the building. That fence goes all the way around behind it, or is that building part of the fence?
Where the metal railing is right now is very close to the property line. We did that on purpose.
So you talking about the east fence line or the west?
The east fence line.
There's a fence behind it.
There's a fence behind the building, so when you take the building
The
out.
building's not part of the fence.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
So if you'd let us know,
I certainly
let
will.
me find out as soon as you got to come up with that decision. So right now, the decision is just let the Friends of the Park give us an answer what they're doing. And then they let us know by, really, I'm gonna dump that back. We need to get them to, let us know and make sure. June first is our next meeting, so if I dump that back for you.
I can let you know in a week, is that fine?
Yeah, let us know, if you let us know by the 29th,
Okay.
that we could put something back on
I
here.
guarantee you the Friends of the Park are gonna take it.
Okay, and
Guarantee.
that's great, that solved a lot of problems,
And we might know that tomorrow.
yeah.
No, they're taking it.
Yeah.
But the building's being removed.
Thanks, Ed.
We'll do that group by next week.
Discussion, item C, discussion possible action to declare the portable stage as surplus. A portable stage right now, that I know Swinging Switch wanted to purchase it, I guess is what they want to do. First of all, we gotta declare it surplus before we can sell it. So what I.
Can you do that already? I thought we did that.
We haven't declared
It
it
is on
surplus.
us.
Did Jerry have anything to say about that?
You ready? You said
Let it
you
go.
said-
I make a motion to clear the stage surplus.
I second that.
Kozowski.
Yes.
Pankowski.
Yes.
Rudick.
Yes.
Scalzo.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Discussion possible action on vandalism at Harrah Heritage Park and the Lions Park. We've been having some vandalism down in both of those areas, and, Marty might be able to tell us as much as any. I don't see, Catherine here, we could probably feel the same as much as any, but I guess just here last weekend, we had some vandalism at, Heritage Park, is that correct? Some graffiti painted on the buildings?
Yes, sir, that's what we hear. We haven't received any official police reports on that, but yeah, we've heard the same traffic around town that we're having some vandalism problems again. We're seeing, a rise in a little bit of vandalism in the city right now. School's getting ready to be out, warmer weather's coming, so, I expect an uptick in vandalism. We have had some discussions, and I know I talked with Jerry, at one point in time, when it comes to Lions Park, that's kind of a very secluded park way down in there, and it's very easy for people to get in there and do things that they shouldn't be doing. We know that back in the day that we had locked a gate to that park, which restricted the big vehicle traffic down there, but if somebody really wanted to walk down in there, they still could. We patrol that area, but, it's still dark in there, and it's hard, to be down for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to keep it from happening. But we're willing to work with Public Works and whomever, the Friends of the Park, wherever we need to try to come up with
And a lot of the, if I'm not mistaken, Gary, a lot of the vandalism is inside the bathrooms, is that correct, with respect to Heritage Park? You know, I know that's hard to determine. Now, what about Lions Park? Is most of it in the bathrooms again?
Yes.
So,
They break the stools, the thing.
it's not outside, it's mainly,
Yeah,
well, I've got-
there's a little bit on the outside, but not much, mainly on the inside.
and I guess just recently they spray painted some graffiti on one of the buildings, is that right? So,
That's a mural.
I want to see what it looks
But anyway, I mean, do we have any suggestions on what we can do to slow the vandalism down? Do we have curfews and things like that? Do we enforce the curfews? I mean, is there anything?
Absolutely. If we find people out past curfew, we're definitely enforcing those ordinances. You know, vandalism, you know, I mean, a pack of kids can do a lot of damage in about 5 minutes with a couple of spray cans, you know, and stuff. So, the only thing I can say that, you know, to make those places less desirable, or one, to, you know, lock the bathrooms at a certain hour so they can't get into them. But that doesn't keep them from spray painting the outside of it. We can always, you know, make it better lit so that, you know, it seems like they're gonna be seen instead of, you know, under the cover of darkness. So those are some things we can work on. We do have it listed as a must go through and do additional patrols at these parks. So, you know, I mean, we are doing our best to patrol them as quickly and as much as we can. But there's still a lot of time in between there.
Right.
Yeah.
You can drive through 5 minutes later and you miss it.
I mean, these kids are probably sitting in the bushes and waiting. for
Oh, yeah.
you, so-
When you come in, they hide, come on.
Exactly,
So, is Lions Park well lit at night?
It's not.
Would it help if it was lit up more? Or, I mean, you know, since it's happened, does it help them see more to vandalize?
Helps them paint better pictures.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, most people don't like to do that stuff if it's lit very well. That's a lot of where you like go into the bathroom to break stuff or burn it down or whatever. I mean, it won't hurt to have some more lighting in the area, absolutely.
I think we need lights there.
What about around the Heritage Park? Is that lit up pretty well at night around those, or does it stay lit up all night?
The bathroom, it's the back side of the pavilion.
So we could probably put a light just up at the top of the gate up there and light that area right there. Would probably solve a lot of problem there maybe. I mean, you know, it's somebody, you know, another thing is, I mean, we need the citizens' help on this as well. I mean, if you're driving by and you start seeing some activity or something, you know, definitely call the police or something, you know, if you think something's going on that's not right. I mean, you know, I imagine there's more citizens helping out than we really know, by just making a phone call to somebody, you know, so.
Well, when we talked to OG&E about lighting at Heritage Park, and one of the things was how dark it is, you know, around the buildings and stuff. The gentleman from OG&E said that they could put there's an existing pole by the parking lot. He said he can have a light that would be going towards that building, which would help light it up more.
We got lighting on our next item. So
Well, that's part of it. That was part of it.
So hold on a second. So what I was gonna do is, I may go ahead and open up item E as well with the Lions Park discussion, possible action on street lighting around the city. That way you can combine these together. So go back, keep going. There you go. Keep going.
No, we've, and this is, it started when Jamie was here, and, we met with, along with, Gary Fitzgerald from the Park Board, we met, because we were looking at lighting for the park area, and, you know, some areas, and I know the police chief had mentioned that, on that road there in front of the park, you know, when they have the Christmas parade, it's pretty pitch dark. It's dark. So we thought, okay, and then talking to Jerry, he said that he said that there used to be lights there until they widened the road and they never put them back in, so there were lights there. So That got us thinking, along with, you know, the beautification project we talked about, me and you, Mayor, about the, you know, the downtown area. Okay, let's see what kind of lights, and I've been to, Jones, they have nice lights around the park and stuff. Cloud does, I've been to Seminole, and it's, you know.
I think around the park, though, the trails lit up fairly decent.
Yeah, there are
I
some,
mean,
there's some
darker
there's
areas.
some dark
But
areas.
on the most
you
part,
know
it's
that.
not too.
Yeah,
bad.
he indicated that he suggested we had 12 lights and 6 poles around the park hill, so that's one of the things he suggested. And you're gonna realize, every time that they put a light in there, there's gonna be a cost to the city per month.
Do we know what that cost is?
Yes, we know.
Okay.
Now, we asked him for multiple areas for lights, and he only gave us one set. And Levi's been trying to get a hold of OG&E, and it's kind of, it's hard sometimes to get a hold of them, so. And, he indicated that, we were looking at decorative lighting to, talking to people in the city, you know, the town area. They seem to think that, lighting is very important, number one, for security reasons, but also to give it an appeal downtown area. So,
Make the downtown area look a lot better.
correct. So, we looked at, and, with Jamie and Jerry Fitzgerald with the park board, since he wanted to be a part of it, so. And we looked at, we got pricing on the teardrop picked the ones, and take a look at the teardrop one.
This one right here?
No, it's that one block right there. And, the price of those are, it's $42.77 per month.
Is that plus the light, or that include them putting
That's,
the light and all?
that's it, no, it's just that $42.77 a month per light.
$43 a month.
43 extra month. Now, you can put the regular poles up, on that street by the park. That is, the price of that is, $23.23 a pole. $24 a pole a month. So, we wanted him to give us a deal, or pricing on going from about 10th Street all the way to about, the Black Raven. Well, he cut it short and only got it to Beale Street. So he's indicating that we're looking at 13 lights and poles. The decorated black poles with the teardrop lighting.
It's 13?
Yeah, 13 for $556.01 extra a month on,
51.
yeah.
And so, then the other.
The other one would be, for that would be $301.99.
How many were that?
Well, that's the 13.
Both of them?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay.
wanted him to take it a little farther, but he cut it short. He just cut it to Beale Street.
Okay, so.
On purpose, that's his deal, or?
I had no idea. We told him all the way to the Black Raven, and then that's all he did.
So-
So Levi's
so-
been trying to get a hold of him to say, hey, we
So
want
the,
you.
so the teardrop, we're doing 13 poles or lights, teardrop through 10.
Well, that's through from 10th Street to Beale Street.
Okay, that's it, okay.
Now, we also wanted to do downtown,
Okay,
which you're looking about seven,
Okay.
I think it's seven existing.
So,
Oh,
so
maybe nine.
downtown
That's what
from,
I saw.
from Black Raven, that's
Well,
a different,
Yeah, that's totally different. This is different.
okay,
Yeah.
that's a different.
Yeah,
okay.
when you go to the opposite side of the street, when you get over there by Black Raven, you see those poles, they have those multi-lines there. He said the utility, whatever the utilities are there, he goes, that's when you run into trouble, you have to contact everyone, whether it's phone lines or cable or whatever, you have to get with each one of them. Now, up to the Black Raven, you can get the poles there, but there's none of that other stuff there. So there we talked about having a downtown area, replacing those poles, which I'm assuming we're paying $23.23 for those light poles that are there existing. So therefore, we think that the cost would be a little less for those. You'd be only adding $10 for the decorative poles down to the downtown in front of the chamber and all that stuff. So I think there's 7, 8 of them.
all the way, now does it go all the way to Tim Hope where there's that?
Well, now, then the other part is taking it from there, going down towards the lumber shack. And then also, on the,
Yeah, really, I mean, I think if we just do Church Avenue from basically Tim Hope down to the Black Raven, or something like.
Yeah, could I intersect, I mean, is there a plan for the downtown? I mean, we're gonna look for a look, I'm just saying, if we're gonna build swing switch district, then it all has to flow together. If we're gonna spend money on new lights, we should have a discussion, and, it's not waste money.
well, that's part of it,
I mean, that's why he didn't just pick he picked out nice lights that go in there.
I'm not saying it's not the right light.
Huh?
I'm not saying it's not the right
Yeah,
light.
no, I'm just, it's also, I'm getting ready to say, is that want to take it from Church Avenue down to the lumber shack, plus going the other direction down by down by the,
Beach store.
Historical Society. That way you're getting the downtown area. And if you go through, if you go look at some of these, Seminole has them everywhere. And it's like, okay, I'd say they probably have a bigger tax basis, they probably do. But
They got
Joan,
nice sidewalks there?
Joan did
Okay, I'm just saying.
I didn't
because
go, it's raining, so I didn't go.
My problem is, Sweeney Switch, let's just go Main Street.
Sidewalk
You
side.
could put them lights in, and they're gonna come out if we redo something
Yes,
inside.
yes, yeah, that's the next step.
Okay.
That's what we talked about
Sidewalks
sidewalks.
around the city.
Okay, let's open up that for D and E. Discussion
Because,
about
I mean,
sidewalks around the city.
Yeah, that's where, and I know we had, Myers was supposed to be giving us some information on redoing the ones downtown with the railing and all that good stuff. Haven't heard anything on that, so. Now, I would like to.
Isn't only,
I know,
let me make
hang on.
it clear.
Hang on, go ahead.
I'll put your butt in my wheelchair and let you go down that sidewalk. I guarantee you flip off the side trying to get into his liquor store.
I know, that's part of the deal, is to have railings and.
Built in 1909.
That's what we talked
Yeah,
about.
railings will keep me from going off
Correct.
the edge, but it cannot be more than a 2% angle. At all.
Yeah, we visited with Bill Myers about it. He hadn't done anything on
Trust
that.
me, I know more about, ADA sidewalks than I ever knew before to get things ADA deal. I tell my wife,
I
I stop
could have
her.
heard it, but I know them.
No, we're not, I'm talking about that, I'm talking about me and my wife, to be honest, when I said that, right there, doesn't need to
Yeah.
that like that. She goes, well, how do you know? I said, well, there are plenty other sidewalks that we've mentioned, that we've had Myers with, we've been around to the county and looked at some. And so there's plenty more. But I think we need to try to make it we're gonna try to get some lights, let's do some sidewalks to help with the deal is to get people walking. That can walk. But instead of driving their vehicle.
If you included the right people on that, you'd know that when they do the study like they did in the cloud, that you include people with wheelchairs, walkers, strollers, everything, so.
I mean, I'm just doing initial.
I do
work.
walk.
I know, I'm just doing initial work.
With some wheels.
I'm just doing initial.
Yeah, I
groundwork.
get it.
When it comes time to stuff, you're definitely gonna be in charge of it. Going
Not
through
in
all that
charge,
stuff.
just.
Well, your input will be vital, but we need to start doing something.
There's a whole lot of places around town didn't have any input.
Correct. So, that's where I'm at. I'm looking at, and Cindy closed your ears on this, there is a grant there that's on the.
That's Father Dan.
No, don't-
Okay, we're not gonna mess it. Okay, well, here, let's jump back up to item, D.
I like
Let's-
your stuff, Bob.
Let's finish up item D real quick while we're here. Discussion of possible action on vandalism at Harrah Heritage Park in Lyon. And I think Levi has priced some time locks, is that right?
So I did get a quote for the back of the Lions Park with electronic time lock, set the times. Had an exit button inside in case they were to be.
Got locked in.
And that quote was $5,200 just for that park, for 2 doors, for the
Wow. So if we did all 4 of our bathrooms, we're $10,000+ because of negative electric to them as well, or whatever.
Yeah, I think we need to try to get some, you know, work with for 2 doors. 'Cause I think the ones that we have, we have to get I can check.
What's the
comments.
ROI on that? You have that much vandalism within a certain amount of time? No. I mean, cause you really have to look,
You have to look at the cost, yeah, I mean,
10,000 may be cheap if they're.
Well, it's
killing
public
us.
safety too, because people
Yeah.
know they can't vandalize, they won't go down there, so it's
I
safety.
get it.
believe it or not, the bathrooms, and I'll just use them, they're concrete block bathrooms at Heritage Park, and the thing is, if there was a tornado and somebody got in, I'm not saying it's a storm shelter down on the beach, but it'd probably be standing out in the middle of the park. And if he was locked out, he might get.
10 o'clock at night. I mean,
It's the
I mean,
vandals.
it's 6 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night, they're open, after that, they're locked. I mean,
But, I mean.
No, what is it?
Well, what I think we need to do is just maybe, like Steve said, how much is it costing us, you think, to do our repairs yearly on those bathrooms, repainting them, fixing stuff? I mean, I know that's probably a guesstimation, but.
I'd say at least $1,000.
A year?
A year. Sometimes we're buying toilets and sinks.
Let's just sit here and say we spend $3,000 a year.
Right.
You know, I mean, we're still.
Well, it's a few year payback, but the safety issue that Eddie mentioned is part of it too.
So do we want to put locks on the bathrooms?
what was her drawback to doing so?
Cost. Where we get
Look,
where we
okay,
get the money.
so, and that's fine, cost is fine, I don't disagree. But I'm tired of going down to that bathroom, going in that bathroom, and there's garbage written all over the walls. And I'm thinking, we can't keep this from happening.
Is it worse at Heritage or Lions? Heritage. Okay, then why don't we just start with Heritage? Just start with that part, just locking those bathrooms, start with that. And see what, see if are they doing it before 10 o'clock? Or since they lock them up from 10 to 6, they're not doing it.
I just gotta know, do you really use those bathrooms?
That's kind of the point. Why would you not use it? I mean,
I wouldn't use it. I get it, I understand.
But he does market in the park.
That's right.
Jerry, the
Yeah.
ones at Lions Park, are they locked all the time or just certain times? They used to be locked all the time.
They're usually from April to about October, they're open full time.
Okay.
And then they're locked during the winter.
Okay. The only reason I asked that particular question about Lions Park is when I taught, and if we used Lions Park as a little picnic time for rewards for our third graders, it's like, we can't use the bathroom, it's locked down there. We'll just go back to the classroom, go back to the building, and take them back. That's why I asked that question. Okay.
But now Heritage
Heritage is open all
year
the
round.
time.
Yeah, it's open year round.
So.
When I was on the park board before, they used to lock the bathrooms about 10 o'clock at night and don't open them the next day unless there's an event down there. I'm just saying that might be something to think about, locking them in.
I'd imagine we could change it if there's an event at the park, we could probably change the clock to 12 o'clock, like on Hair Day or something like that, or whatever. Leave them locked all day. Do we wanna?
Let me just ask one more question. So you put on those kind of locks, that's not gonna stop vandalism. I mean, the late at night stuff, it's,
Right.
if it's blocked at a certain time. For those that don't commit vandalism,
They ain't stopping them. They do it.
some of the people, I guess it would be a preventive.
most of the vandalism is at night.
Yeah, it would be preventative. I get it.
Our curfew's actually midnight till 6 a.m.
Is it?
and then 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. on weekends.
Is that for kids too?
Under 18,
Are you
If
serious?
you're under 18, you can stay out till midnight in Oklahoma.
according to our statutes, our ordinances.
We might need to look at that and change it. And I say that a Friday night, I mean, the kid and the girlfriend go out to the movies and
Well,
stuff
now,
in town,
When I was a child, which was many years ago, it was 10 o'clock. But if there's a special event, the cops weren't gonna send anybody home, at 10 o'clock, you gotta be off the street or something. But they did get us off the street. normal time.
If you're walking around.
If you're walking around, they would get us off the street.
There's a big difference between going to the movies and coming home versus somebody strolling around at 3 a.m.
I totally get that. No place for people strolling around. What time would you say if we did a curfew? What time would you say?
You know, to be, I mean, given probably a time, I'd go back and look at our vandalism reports and see if we can narrow down a time, to see when it starts. I mean, cause in the summertime, it doesn't get dark until 9:30. So, you know, we're not really dealing with a lot of darkness until later in the evening time. I mean, I'd have to get back with you to make a perfect recommendation, but, 1 o'clock on the weekends,
It's getting pretty late.
that could be late. So,
And why do you need to be in the park after dark?
Can you not do park hours compared to public hours? I mean, can you say the park's closed?
You know, and what would you do? I mean, there's a lot of walkers get up there at 4:30 and 5 in the morning and walk that park. I mean, they really are, some elderly people, they do, especially when it's pretty. I think when it's dark, and it's lit fairly well. I mean, it's not perfectly, but it's lit fairly well. But I agree, I mean, why do you need down the park after 10 o'clock?
Nine bars don't have any lights, why should anybody be in there from dusk to dawn? Have it, lock them up at that time, there's no reason to be down there after dark, there's no lights anyway, or you plan on anything.
we used to open lines at 8 in the morning, set it off at 10 o'clock at night.
What they used to do.
Time lapses.
That's what they used to do, Jerry.
Yeah.
If you wanna close them at 8 o'clock in the winter, you can do that. If you wanna leave them open 11 o'clock during the middle of July, you can do that. I mean, they're flexible.
Do we want to put locks on the bathrooms?
That sounds like the thing to do, but yeah, I mean.
Well, if you're gonna let your kids under 18 run around till midnight and 12, midnight and 1 in the morning, you better put some locks on, because
So why don't we look at,
the kids are doing no good.
why don't we look at putting the light on the back of the pavilion? That'll light up that area. That could be with the floodlight on the top. That's not a big cost at all. And then let's go ahead and, put time locks at Harrah Park.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I say something real quick?
Yes, sir.
In the discussion, I just want to bring up, so the time locks are very expensive, and I don't care which way they are, but I would make sure that whatever locks that we buy are vandalism proof, because they will break the locks if they think that they're gonna get away with that, and that's $5,000 down the drain.
Let's check into that before we pull the trigger. If it's where you said, and the vandalism, let's move forward. If not, let's look at the cost.
You know, I'm gonna jump in, okay? There shouldn't be kids roaming the streets at 3 a.m. in the morning, if that's where it's coming from, all right? We have mechanisms in place to stop that. It should be stopped. So this is not just put the locks on the bathroom to solve the problem.
No,
It's gonna be lighting, it's gonna be locks, it's gonna be patrols, it's gonna be a lot of things to help deter this. But to lock it all up and keep people out, that's not the answer.
No,
That's not the answer. That's unacceptable.
I agree.
So if we gotta spend some money to try to fix it, and it may not, maybe, it doesn't work.
But most of the vandalism's inside the bathroom, is that right, Jared? Most of it's inside the bathroom.
Yes.
Most of it's inside, that's the only reason.
But if we're looking at putting forth a park plan in the future to do something down there, that's all the more reason for people to go down there and tear stuff up. In some people's mind. So, we've gotta have a little bit better plan to just, we can put locks on it, but there's gotta be some other things done too. Well, I think it's an overhaul of how we deal with parking totally. How we patrol it, what we do. Do we get out and look around, or do we drive to the parking lot? Do we have supervision over the park independently of, some other things? It goes into a lot of other things that we're not talking about tonight. Structure and some other things, lighting for one, I mean, we're talking about lights. You know, there are some areas on that park that are dark. You've got a lady jogging, which I see it all the time at night. You know, she goes to a dark area, we have an incident. Well, is an incident worth worrying about a light? I don't think it is. If it's, we got places that we need to shore up, we need to do it proactive, not reactive.
Hey, what happens to the resource officer during the summer from the schools?
He works the streets.
Oh, he goes regular, I was gonna say, maybe we can have a park patrol, switch that guy from the schools to the parks. I mean, there's places that, I mean, bigger cities have park patrols. I realize we're small, so, but I was thinking if he was dedicated just to schools, he's like off for the summer, maybe we can make him dedicated to parks.
Is there a cheap alarm system deal? I'm not talking spending tons of money, just something cheap to put here to where, you know, you can set it to where when a certain time to where once it's, you know, that way it's with a lock. If the door's ever open, during a certain time frame, it does just a, you know, like a horn or something.
You mean like my car and nobody pays any attention to it?
Yeah.
Right, Mark.
Yeah, and I like where you're going with that. I would recommend that we also look into maybe some part or some type of camera system. Doesn't have to be a camera system that is monitored someplace, although they can do that, but just a camera system that would record so that if something did happen, we could go retrieve that data. And a lot of times, the fact that, you know, we're looking at making things less desirable, that's another way to do it. Better lighting, maybe some stricter rules, but let them know that there's cameras that they can't get to, that, you know, are up high, that we can actually see who's doing it, because if I can figure out who's doing it, then we will definitely charge them for it. If we have to get them down there and scrub it off with a couple of wired brushes for community service or however the courts go, you know, we can make that happen. But for us to catch them, we're gonna need some kind of proof, and it would help with maybe some low cost cameras that record, that we can pull that data off of.
Even the cameras that are stick-on, you know, the ones that you guys are using for hunting, you know. I have a lot of cameras, and there's some that a person can come up and just pull off and throw in the trash, but, oh, by the way, they're recorded, pulling it off usually, unless they could get up behind it, which they can't. They're gonna have to come up to it and be seen, even if they destroy it and it's not being monitored, it's on my system.
And a lot of those also do have a cellular card in them, and that will transmit photographs back
Right.
to an email account or whatever. And, you know, I'm not saying that a trail cam's the best thing, but there are options out there that
They're not that expensive.
I spend $100 a month for the cameras all around my store. And it monitors and records and saves for 30 days.
Me too, Sam. And there's also signs up that you're being monitored. I mean,
My hoodie and my mask work really well.
I mean, all that can be done cheaper through Wi-Fi. It can be stored out on the secure server, it can be stored here on a secure server. Something happens, they can go back and do it. You know, the school has something similar in the parking lots. I don't know how up to date it is, but
A lot of those
IP cameras are all over the place. I got them all over my house.
I got them all over, and it sends it to my phone every time there's movement outside. I mean, I don't have to look at them all, I can go back later if something happens.
My concern is to stop piecemeal together. If we're gonna do something, make sure that we're gonna spend our money wisely and doing the right thing as far as technology and going forward, and how that correlates to any long-term plans that we have for that park area. We don't wanna waste the money and have it jerked out, redone in a couple of years. You know, that's another thing. If we have an incident in the park with a jogger, somebody's, you know,
So what
mugged or something, at least you're gonna have, you might have some video of it.
what do we have to have Levi contact, that's a lot of camera systems and stuff, and just see what, just having a meeting down there and, I put a camera here, and here, I mean, are they wireless, are they hardwired, what do we need to do? look into some lighting and look into the locks, and I think Contact can do the locks as well. So, and make sure the locks are abandoned and improved. So let's just, take no action on this one tonight.
There's a bigger expense when you go that route.
Well, but let's take no action tonight until we get some numbers back in front of us.
Oh, yeah, I just meant when you go that route, that somebody would come out and build a system for you and do all that.
Right, but if you're gonna put a camera system up, you put one, because a lot of these camera systems, I mean, if you're gonna put one up, I mean, a lot of them, you can see a car, but you can't read the tag number. You know, I mean, so you can't read the tag number sometimes, it's not as good as quality at the nighttime and everything, so just, Levi know, see what's available, that's gonna be our start. So let's just take no action on that. Yes, sir.
On that 4B, Friends of the Park do want the bar. She can confirm, and then we'll get a written statement to Levi by Monday saying that they will take the bar. And that works.
Okay.
Then we will take it from there and be gone with the bar. Thank you.
Okay,
That's the,
you wanna know, that bottom one, what we're saying.
jump back to Tim for a minute on the street lighting around the city. Let's get away from that subject.
Now, you got, it's also gonna take, if you decide to go with executive light, you're looking at probably, because every city in the, seems like every city, the guy knows Denise, is that every city, he's wanting to know how everybody's getting all these lights. Everybody's getting, he said, right now, they have the lights, but it takes a good 4 to 6 months to get the pole.
What I would, on the lights right now, I would recommend that we do from 10th Street down to more or less the Black Raven. And really from the Black Raven on up to Tim Holmes. Or maybe just a little past that if we want to, Black Raven on the back west to Tim Holmes. Up Church Street, the whole way up Church.
Okay, go down Church Street.
Church Street to Harrah Road. If we just did that area right now, just that area. And then we come back and wait on the Main Street and Tim Holt down there to the school, wait on those until we figure out what we're doing on sidewalks.
Okay.
The other ones, we're not moving at all.
So we wanna do it from, 10th Street all the way to about the Black Raven.
Well, 10th Street all the way really up to the funeral home.
Well, the deal is there, then you have to jump the road. You have to jump the road because of the other, unless we get the other utilities that have all those lines to get those poles down. He goes, I can put the poles next to them, but, you know, it looks stupid.
You can't put them on existing poles, that we have lights on now.
Just wooden poles.
It looks stupid, like you said.
Well, yeah, but do we wanna add 2 poles and have, I mean, we got pole,
Well, I think.
see, what I'm thinking right now, you get the lighting, or leave the lighting down there and just finish it up down on Harrah Road, and then figure out what we're doing on the sidewalks and all down there, and then fix the poles and all that at that time.
So Tim talked to me,
Yeah.
he talked to me a little bit about it. My understanding is like Church Street in the heart of downtown. The lights you're talking about would be largely on my side of the street.
Correct.
Because the other side has these power lines and stuff that you have to work around. So you would still be doing the lighting, but it would be just on one side of the street.
That's the deal is, let's start it, and let's continue to do it. Okay, I don't expect to do the whole, everything. I'd like to be able to say, okay, let's order 30 poles. And then we can put them down, going to the rubber shack and all that stuff. But we definitely wanna have them from 10th Street to about the Black Raven on that side of the street, because there's no existing lines that are, like that. Having it there. And then going across the street in front of Greg's area, the
theater, the camper.
Having the lights put there. And he indicated that on those right there, he's 99% sure that but for now, they can put them up. Even if we don't have to, we can talk about sidewalks in that area later, but they should be able to get in there and pull the water. He's sure that's 99% sure that they can do that. Versus that 1% that said, that's what happened in like.
On existing poles, is that right?
Yeah, those existing poles down to the camp. So that's kind of what me and Jamie were looking at. Okay, let's start that, and then we talked about going down to the lumber shack, dressing it up and going down the other way. Just a little bit, that usually the downtown corridor, do it, yeah, would like to see it go all the way to, yeah, but that's, you know. not gonna happen.
How many lights would be on Main Street?
Well, you got 7 that are, I think there's 7 existing now, I counted them before, but I forgot.
I just saw one thing, I had 2 or 3 lights in front of my house and it lit up my house. And it's not, it's like daylight. I get my neighbors to shut their lights off. That's like the HOA that he was talking about, but it's too bright outside, so.
Well, there's, you know, in front, in Main Street area, in front of where all the.
I mean, they've already got lights
They
on,
got lights
they're on all
Yeah.
the time.
So it's, yeah, and I'm thinking if you do something down towards the lumber shack and stuff, yeah, I mean, there's not that many poles.
Well, I
there
think
anyway, but-
it would look really
Yeah.
nice for development.
Right.
You know, like you said, in the overall plan, even though there's not really an overall plan, I know there's a book, but that's not really the plan that somebody's developing.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere, to start.
Oh, I'm good with lights. I like
So the
that.
lights there that are on church right now, in front of the theater and all that, there are lights there now.
Yes.
So,
You should be able to say with,
okay, so if we're planning on changing those or whatever, or doing some work on the sidewalk, why don't we just leave that alone? And just really do from 10th to the Black Raven to light up that area that's dark, to start with, that's a starting point. Then let's figure out what we're doing with the sidewalks and finish it all at one time. You know, if we're gonna replace those sidewalks, or if they are, OT&E can wire all that before you pour concrete or anything, and tear some stuff out. So, instead of updating those lights, let's wait until we get some sidewalk material. If that move forward,
you think we wanna, I mean, you think that's gonna take, I mean, I don't know how long you're looking at that. Like I said, you're looking at 6 months before they probably even get the pole, so you're looking at
probably a year before you get a decision, you know, money and all that. I mean, we gotta get some money.
well, yeah.
But we did the lighting in front of the park, that would really help.
Well, then,
That'd be a
start.
start. Get that, and go from there.
So, did you consider, I mean, I was asking, was there any consideration of changing the interior downtown to lamp posts versus?
Yes. And he said this is the best thing. You know, yeah, we talked about, because that's our first initial thought, was we wanted those, he said, no, you don't want those. And I'm not saying, I mean, those are even more expensive, trust me.
I'm sure they are.
Yes. We thought about doing that down there, that's what the chamber was, you know, they were looking at something like that, and so we did that, and they were a lot more expensive. So we went with this, which it seems that everybody's doing these, and, it is still expensive, but, you know, if you want the place to look nice and track things, I think you gotta start somewhere, so.
Do you wanna recommend?
Well, I recommend that we do from 10th Street on Sloan. Or what do you think? But I want, right now, we've got 13 LED in that field. I'd like to see it take it all the way to at least Black Raven. So you're looking at probably another, could be 3 or 4 poles, 3 or 4. Put that.
13, 16 to 18 lights probably.
Yeah. I mean, and I know what you're saying about the sidewalk issue there. You don't think we want to do it to the 7s, you want to maybe the downtown area, if it's moment, or whatever. You gotta start somewhere.
So if you wanna recommend we do between 16 and 18 lights down from 10th to Black Raven?
I can recommend we do that for sure.
Gotta be a start, and then we put it back on there here.
It's a start.
You know, get those up and see what that
See what that looks, and then we can move on to the others.
And maybe we'll have some designs on sidewalks at that time.
Yeah, because I know that what you talked about, having that widening the curve out a little bit, you could probably go to 2 on that corner. You know, the 2, instead of 1, like, so, but I mean, that would just, I'd start somewhere.
So organization wise, how many organizations have you kind of floated the idea to buy?
I've talked to multiple people with, Friends of the Park. Talked to Karen, Greg. I talked to the Chamber. I mentioned it today, the Chamber meeting today.
Do you have a consensus of what everybody thinks, or?
They're all for getting lighting, better lighting, more lighting. The decorative lighting, they see the lighting and they, you know, want that, like I said, all the city is doing it. So the consensus is, yes, let's do it.
So if we do 16, 18 lights down there, what about in the park itself? What's the number of roads?
Well, he was saying that we should add 12 lights and 6 poles. That's what I was talking about, adding lights, he's adding lights to existing poles that are out there. The south end
Yep.
is the dark.
Is the dark.
Now, he cannot run, since it's got the water there, he can't do it on that little dam area, run lines there, so he has to utilize existing poles and throw some lights towards that. That's one, so we had 12 lights and 6 poles at a rate of $7.50 per light and $8.06 per pole. 35 wood tow rate, $138.84 added to the monthly billing code.
$138 for that one, for just the park.
Just for the park.
And then the other one, if we do 16 and 43, is that right? Or 17 and 43 be an average number?
And there are some existing poles there that are on that stretch there, so you probably claim 20, whatever they said, that was 23, so we might have, we won't see much, we'll see a little difference there.
So do we want a motion to do 16 and 18 lights down Harrah Road from 10th Street to the Black Raven, and go ahead and do the 6 poles and 12 lights in the park? You want to make a motion to do that?
This is not a grant, this is
us paying.
This is a.
Yeah, it doesn't, yeah.
This is
The
a
only thing-
this is a monthly fee that we wind up.
Right, well, I understand that.
That's what pays for the lights, is our monthly fee, where they're not charging us $100 a light, but this,
Now, if you wanna buy the lights, just outright, $8,000.
I can't afford it.
Yeah, $8,000, we asked that. He said, seriously. Now, there may be a minimal charge if they have to bore somewhere, you know, some area. They may charge $500, $550.
I mean, to do all those lights, I mean, you know, if we do 18 and it's roughly gonna add $1,000 a month.
Takes a long time to pay for lights.
Well, we look at some of these smaller towns and they've got them, and it's like, okay, they're affording it, gotta be, that's the one thing they can do. Yeah, so, I mean, it's a additional cost to the city. Hopefully, when you have stuff like that, you beautify it a little bit, so you'll have more people wanting to come and, you know, right now, how much, the city paying for those lights that are stringing across around the Lovejack area, you know, those are all about 24/7.
They probably are now.
Carnival lights?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, you're looking at, you get your lights down that way, you're looking at savings, I mean, not as much as, you know, 42.77, you're already paying some electricity there. Plus those other lights that are there.
So do you know if the park plan, I know it's not specific, but.
He
do
didn't
they
draw
call-
any, the trails are really staying exactly where they are, with the exception of extending farther out to the south.
On to the south.
And then the only other trails or whatever would be whenever we get down to the splash pad and get some other ways through that. And if we really light up the perimeter path, you know, we may have to eventually, once some other things, put some more lights.
Well,
in
my
turn.
question was, did they allocate those as purchase, or will they continue to lease those?
It's a continuing lease is what I'm taking it as.
In the park plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all a lease.
Now, part of this deal with lights that they have in the park, like I said, it includes that one pole aiming towards where the
Yeah.
buildings are.
Right.
Now, he said the drawback that you have is that when you have your Christmas and the park deal, when you put the
Right.
Christmas tree and stuff, you know, that would affect that, so. That's something.
Can't have your cake and ice
Right,
cream.
that's kind of
and
like
put
what
you
you
down.
got.
Danny,
We're
can I say
not-
something? And I'm just throwing this out, but I'm thinking, I can understand the lighting in the park, but if we're talking about planning, putting lights down Harrah Road, down to Church Street, like, there's a pretty, and it was brought up, there's a pretty good grade right there. And I mean, if you put new lights in right there, I mean, and then you're planning on putting sidewalks later, it doesn't make any sense to put the lights in before the sidewalks, or at least you need to make sure you're planning for the sidewalks that you're planning on putting down Harrah Road, because there's actually a pretty good grade right there.
See, all the lights are going on the west side.
On the west side?
Yeah, so if we have to do a sidewalk, we do it on the park side, which would be the east side, so that shouldn't.
That makes sense.
What I'm going on the lights are going on the east side.
The lights are going on the
Wouldn't switch until you got downtown.
East side. Yeah, downtown is going on the west side. Yeah,
So just, okay, Harrah Road's east side, yes, across from the park.
Right.
Yes.
Well, it's not right.
No,
it's
it's
side
on the
by
park
park.
side.
Same side.
Yeah.
That's the grade.
That's
That's
east.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
yeah, no,
Okay, so that's
but we looked at a walking, sidewalk, it's gonna be on the other side.
On the west side? You look at that grade that's on
I'm
the
just
west
saying
side,
that's- that's
you
part of-
major cut into it.
I'm just saying that's what it's gonna look like. I'm not saying it's gonna be done. I'm just
Well, that's
saying-
what I'm saying, I mean, there should be a plan put in place for sidewalks and lights. Because the west side,
Where
you got-
where the lights are down from 10th Street there's, the only lights, the only sidewalk there is from the Black Raven to the park. We're not looking to put sidewalks there, I mean, on that side all the way down.
oh, you're not gonna put
No.
sidewalk all the way down,
Not there, no, that's. no.
just from the park to Black Raven?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just continue it from where the Black Raven is to the park, cause it just
Oh.
ends.
Bring it down to the trail.
Take it down to the trail area,
Everything
so it
takes
just
off.
kinda ties in. No, we're not
Okay.
thinking about putting sidewalks
Alright.
there yet. No, that's not happening. That I know. So when we talk about sidewalks on the other side.
He just wasn't clear before you got to talk about something.
Alright, sorry about that.
So let's move forward. What do we want to do? Want to look at it some more?
I'd like to go ahead and just, get,
We talked about 16 to 18 lights down Harrah Road to Black Raven and 7 lights downtown.
yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that?
I thought we were postponing the downtown.
Yeah.
park.
Well, I'm saying we do it, but that's,
You're saying do them all.
he knows that, the guy from OGD knows that we're gonna be doing sidewalk improvements there, and he said, no problem. That's what he said, cause they put you a deal up, you have to just go around it. They put, it's gonna be a fence.
If these lights, okay. Yeah, because if they were on the side of the theater, they would be in the low spot of that sidewalk, not
Correct.
the high spot, and there'd be a pedestal right there. So,
I mean, they could do that, but if we wanna hold, I mean,
yeah,
we're gonna hold
I
off, we
see,
can hold off.
you could still make that work, but you may have to work around those lights at some point.
But I think what makes sense though, is since we got Myers looking at that, I think we got to just wait down there.
So just do the 16, 18 down Harrah Road.
For now.
Okay, do we have a motion to do just 16 to 18 lights from 10th Street down to the Black Road? None of downtown. None at the park, you want to do none at the park, just general, okay. Okay. So just start with that. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? This is just lights down Harrah Road from 10th to Black Road.
Rudick,
Yes.
Kozowski,
Yes.
Pinkowski,
Yes.
Scalzo,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
motion carried.
discussion possible action on sidewalks around the city, I think we'll just, tonight, take no action on that, and we'll see what Bill comes up with. Discussion,
And we also took no action on the Lions Park stuff.
no,
Vandalism.
no, he's actually gonna look into alarm and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no.
No.
Just take it.
So this is Levi.
Levi. Item G, discussion possible action to apply for a grant for mirrors on buildings. Kim, that's what you want to do there?
Well, the talk has been about having a mural somewhere along the city, in the city. And, there again, I've looked at some that some of the cities have, I actually went and looked at them. I did contact the gentleman today, I think, Josh, you talked to him too?
Yep.
Yeah, because we got talking about that, putting it on the, grain elevator stuff, and I told him I'd get with you on all that stuff. But, there is a grant that I think I'd like to apply for, and I'd like to at least try it. And I mean, I would do the most of it.
Is it an 80-20, is it a 50-50, is it 100%? 100%. Is there a cost, I mean, as far as, is the grant only up to 100,000, is it up to
It goes up to
50,000? 50,000. Okay, can we do what you're talking about on the $50,000? Would that do that?
Just for example, the one in McLeod, costs $5,000.
Okay.
It all depends on what you want on it, where you want it. I'm assuming if he puts it on the grain elevator, the expense will probably go up, because he's finished one in Ardmore, he told me that. If you go look at his website, he has it there.
What's his name?
Bob Palmer.
Bob Palmer, Bob Painter. I've been dealing with him for about 5 years, and, but all of a sudden, in the last 2 months, the price has been cut in more than half to do what I wanna do. We're actually gonna start a fund and see if we can get it done. Get some corporate sponsors, we hadn't even approached the city about it. Gonna do what we're looking at, what we've drawn up. The preliminary deal is do the front of the mill facing the store, and I call it the west side facing the police station, the library, and our store across, do those 2 sides. And it looks like time he does the material on his part and what we have to cover, you're looking 75, 80,000. We're hoping to raise 50. If we can get 50, we can get it done. But we are actually at the Polish Festival this weekend, we're gonna start announcing that we're gonna try to do a GoFundMe or something to see who's interested in donating, or what the consensus is around town about doing it.
And on doing that, I mean, the whole thing's not gonna be a miracle, I'm assuming.
To the first deck, 120 foot, whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yep.
From top to bottom?
Just not the head house.
I mean, that's
That's a huge.
Yep,
the
and
best
he, I'm telling
place
you,
for something when
it's,
you come into town, they're putting it on a little wall on the side of the building, and that grain elevator is the place to have it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So,
Yeah, he did suggest to try to get.
yeah,
buy-in from
yeah,
people with money.
I've got Sunbelt that'll donate part of cause what he covers is his labor, all the paint, that type of stuff.
and he thinks doing both of it, 80,000 is like.
His part, 40,000. But to rent the equipment, the steam cleaning and everything else, we're probably 25 to 35, is what we looked
Gotta have
at.
some type of,
Those 180 foot lifts, they're not cheap.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah,
then.
so Sunbelt's working on that,
Yeah.
but, so that's why we kind of put that 75,000 mark out there, that we can get, if we could try to raise about 50,000, that we thought we could really get her done.
Now, on his 40,000, he's steam cleaning it all, I mean.
That's us steam cleaning it, that's, yeah.
You gotta paint the canvas for him then?
No, he does.
He'll paint the white, whatever.
So what we've got kind of just, we want to go deeper into this. This is just me and him talking. Side facing, front of the store. And the black ground, it just look kind of like blue and clouds, but then you put your mural over it. This is what I want in the center. And we can add whatever we want to it, but since I'm kind of been after this for years, I want a Polish couple dancing right in the center of it. I wanna go back to our roots. And we could put weed on it, we could put anything that's do with our history here.
Did you say we?
Weeds. Yeah.
Waving
Weeds,
weeds.
yeah.
We got-
We use our business.
Yeah. If we wanna pay for it. But you know, bring in the back to history, so the agriculture, whatever we can think of to put on it. And then there'd be the north, I call it northwest corner, it's not, point in the library, that silo, we would put Harrah up and down on it, spelled out. And then starting at the Harrah, going around toward the police station would be like a flag going around. That's just kind of our preliminary thoughts on what we could start with and then build off of that.
Yeah, he suggested everybody, you know, he goes, I always suggest putting an American flag
Mm-hmm.
and a state flag.
Cause that doesn't get old,
there.
yeah.
He says you always wanna have that somewhere. He goes, as far as you get sponsors or anything, he goes, I could put somewhere.
Yeah,
on a
like
Google
I've got,
site.
they just did Ardmore. Now Chickasaw Tribe and Bank First covered most of that one. But Sherwin-Williams donated, so anybody that donated over, they kinda did, whoever donated the bigger amount, they put their name or business down on where it's visible to everybody. So, I mean, that's something I've been working on. When I saw this last night, I was like, where'd the mural thing come from? So I didn't know anything about it, right?
Me.
Yeah. Cause I've been back and forth on this for several years, but now that him and I got in the last 2 months and all of a sudden prices changed, I was like, okay, now we're gonna move forward with it.
So if the city was able to come up with
Yeah.
50,000, I mean, do you think seriously that you could get the other 30,
Yes,
whatever?
yeah,
out?
it's, yeah.
You know, and we're
Yeah.
gonna-
We've
we're
already got
gonna try.
we've already got people that are really
So
interested.
let me just back up one other step.
Yeah.
Let's just say we get the $50,000
Yeah.
grant,
Mhm.
and you get nothing. Are you still gonna let the city spend 50,000 on doing something? I mean, if nothing
Yeah,
else. I
no,
mean,
but like I
If it's
said,
just
this,
a flag on the one
right,
side, I'm just
yeah.
asking, you know.
That was our first design years ago, was a big old flag.
Right,
And it was, for some reason, it was expensive.
right.
So we kinda, because of the prep work, they wanted to do a bunch, the guys, that they wanted to do the prep work was extremely high. So we kinda let that go, but I don't know if he's been doing it so much lately and got more contacts or what the deal is, but the price went down and so I'm moving forward with it, whether the city's, you know, wants to get involved or not.
I mean, the time frame and all that, once you apply for it, how long? does it take?
I just know that we have to have the grant done by, June.
And then how long do we have to, I mean, we have a year to spend the money, or do you have a year to spend the grant?
I don't really know, I'd have to get this, I'll talk to,
You must have funded.
well, the next ACOG, but I'll talk to the mayor and, Guthrie, because Guthrie got one last year.
Do I have a motion to allow Tim to try to apply for a grant for a mural on a building?
I'll make a motion to apply for a grant. For a mural on a building.
No guarantee we'll get it, but I'll try.
Go, Tim, go.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Wazowski?
Yes.
Pankowski?
Yes.
Remick?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Josh, I'll get with you, we'll see if we can.
I-
He wants to come out, by the way, he wants to come out and look at it, and he'll give us a good.
Yeah, I've got his books in my
He
truck.
told me to get the book.
Yeah, I've got 2 of them if you want one.
Yeah, he told me. to
Shows
get the
all
book.
he's been doing this for like 30 years.
I
That's
wrote
what he
down his
does.
name, so I'll go look at it.
Yeah, he's been,
Did he do the one on the Oklahoma City?
he did the original one, when they
On
come
the
back,
west side.
when they come back and kinda overdid it, that was somebody else, but he was the original guy to do it. I'll show you pictures.
On the railroad?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's-
mean,
that's
the one that they
pretty
did for Ardmore is really neat. They did a big chief on it, I mean, it's really neat.
Item H, I'm gonna just table it. Item I, mayor's appointment to the Board of Adjustment, member Gary Bowen. Jeff was a part of that, and states in our ordinance that, our charter, that we have to have 2 planning commissions on our Board of Adjustments, and so I'm recommending Gary Bowen to be on that. Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Wazowski? Rudick?
Yes.
Pankowski?
Yes.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes. We're gonna jump over to the public works side real quick, and discussion possible action on lift, sewer line and lift station at Cedar Point. Is it just, Michael, is it just sewer line or is it water lines as well?
Water as well.
Water as well, so that's both of them. What, Cedar Point is down on 29th and Luther Road. And, I guess, Tim Remy has applied to put in some water and sewer there. And DEQ has told them that the city has to take over those lines and maintain those lines. And, I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention and let them know that, you know, I got a letter from, actually Bill Myers, today, or yesterday, and I got one from Michael yesterday. And Michael, you can fill us in on, that it says that DEQ, they're trying to get answers to see if it's mandatory, and it's looking like DEQ is making it mandatory that the city takes over those lines, whatever lines are in that subdivision, right?
Yeah.
And really, the reason I put this on here as well is because those lines, honestly, when he platted that out as his preliminary plat or final plat, those water and sewer lines should have been a part of that. Am I correct?
Correct.
But now we're in the later part of the game, so water is available, it's on his side. Sewer is available on his side, but the problem is he's built his buildings down so low, he's gotta put in a lift station. So my opinion is when this is designed, that all cost goes back to the developer, number one. And number two is, I think that we need to, if we're gonna have to accept these lines, and we're gonna need to make sure that that lift station is put low enough in the bottom, that if anybody ever wants to tie onto it east of his property, they can free flow into that lift station, and it becomes, because it's the city's lift station.
How the hell did they get here? We got engineer people and all that, and we just got here without anything. All of a sudden, it's your guys. This guy just throws it on us. We didn't look at this in the plat, in the final plat. Nobody did anything with it.
Nobody did anything.
Who the hell's fault is that?
It was originally designed, the developer wanted to take on the lines himself. He did not want to dedicate them to the city. So when they went through the whole planning process, all the lines were going to be private. It was his complete intention. And as we started doing the submittals with DEQ is the one that came back to us and said, these have to be owned by the city. And we didn't want it, developer didn't want it, but it was all DEQ.
But now there's concrete all down there, and we haven't looked at it,
So
right?
The lines have not been installed, they left the concrete out from, so they could still install, because they don't have any approved utility plans from us, as reviewers or DEQ.
And honestly, I mean, my argument is we're gonna add another lift station. How many lift stations do we have now?
So we didn't.
We'll have it 10 when we're all done.
Not counting Cedar Point.
Not counting Cedar.
So that'll make 11 once we get that. So, and all those lift stations are pumps, bypasses, everything that we have to maintain and take care of. Generators and all.
But like he said, and I didn't realize that, he wanted it all himself. And DEQ forced this issue. And it's not in yet, so I misspoke. It's not covered with concrete, and we can't see it. We have yet to put all this stuff in.
Well, he has to still put it in. We don't.
I know,
He still does.
but it's yet to be put in.
Verify that theory. You hadn't started on any of it.
No.
Okay, so we will get to see it all and inspect it all.
But the lines, in my opinion, are not the issue. The issue is he dug down 30 feet,
Well,
which requires a lift station.
But didn't we just complete a lift station out there?
what it is he will put a lift station down at his bottom and pump into a free flow line on the top of the hill, and then we'll free flow down to our lift station, that will pump it all the way back to another lift station, and we'll pump it to another lift station.
So he's gonna put it down in the creek area then?
That's where is that where, has he designed where he's putting it or
The
anything?
lift station is actually on the south side of the property, so everything
Will
will
it be on the-
taken back to the
It'll
south.
be on the
side.
southeast side of his property?
Right in the center, and then
But if we
it'll
put it-
push to the
that's not
manhole.
Well, see, the problem is if we put it, if he puts it up that high, if anybody east of there wants to tie into our lift station at that time as a free flow line, because we can free flow from the really from the bottom of that creek, all the way back up to
Half a mile.
probably half a mile. You probably almost get to Ferguson Street up there almost.
So we know the size of the lift station.
Do what?
I have specs on it, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it is only designed, it is only designed to hold the capacity of this site.
Say, we need, if we're gonna, if anybody that generally, I mean, it's like the lift station down on 44th Street, it will handle more than that subdivision, correct?
Yes, that one is larger.
That one is larger. We made him put in a large enough one that we can expand, we can run down 29th back to the west, if need to, for growth or whatever as well. Why would we not make this lift station do the same for us going back to the east? If that's the case. If that's what we're gonna get into, I think that we need to make sure that that lift station is strategically placed, that it benefits the city as well, and size-wise. And that's part of him not getting everything approved before he did it. If he'd had it all approved, he'd known this going into it, you know? But I always thought DEQ allowed private lines to tie into a city line.
That was our understanding as well. I mean, we are trying to get clarification on it.
I was gonna say, did a law change or something?
We're trying to get specifics.
Because I don't have a
They haven't
problem
given
with
us
him.
specifics.
I'd rather him own his own line, own his own lift station, it's all his. Because if something goes wrong, they're not calling Jerry out here Sunday afternoon to come fix the line, you know, you know, cause, you know, it is 2 years ago, we visited about a trailer park tying into our sewer system that was out in the county. And no one had any problems with them being able to dump into a manhole, and we was gonna charge them, a flow rate is what we was gonna charge. They had to run the lines, they had to do everything, it was all private lines. And, the council visited about that, and we didn't have a problem doing that. We never set any fees or any rates or anything like that on anything, but we did come to the point, you know, so. I just think if we need to clarify, get some clarification on if it's gonna be the city's line, then it needs to be designed that the city benefits off.
The city has
So
to say
is there a
something.
timeline
Yes.
on when you're gonna find that out, or when they're gonna give it to you, or does somebody else need to get on it, or is it correct?
We've been working on it this week. We have an email into them, yesterday. So our general contact at DEQ, she kind of tossed it up the chain and said, hey, this decision was made above my head, you're gonna have to contact them. We've reached out to her bosses, and we have yet to hear back. So we didn't hear back from them today.
State agency?
Department of Environmental Quality. Yeah.
For the state.
For the state.
So the state has changed something, so there could be a law, or they could have just made a rule.
Could.
We just don't know.
It is our understanding that their rules state that, it can be private as long as the developer shows that he has the financial means to maintain the system. And so that, we stated that to them, that's in their
Yeah, I heard
regs.
that. That's what the
And
catch came from.
There's the picture.
so, something has them concerned, we don't know why, they haven't told us yet. So,
Okay, and you're gonna find that out and get it back to us, I hope.
So tonight,
Or I'll jump on 'em.
once again, I guess we'll take no action on this until we get better clarification, and then we need to get better cost and all that. So we'll take no action on that. Thank you. Item B is discussion of action on drawdown 75. What this is that's the lift station down on Harrah Road. Their job is bid at $895,000. They're asking for $200,000, which is their first draw, and that's really just the material cost. They've done a little bit of work down there, but haven't done a whole lot.
So this is a lift station?
This is the one down on 29th
It's
Street.
listed under other. I could find nothing on it. Where did you get that information?
All this?
Yeah, where'd you get that information that this council member did? You sent it in his package, right?
No, I sent it
I called her and
out,
asked her where it all was.
and I sent it out to
She sent it out to everybody
everybody separately.
this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no wonder.
Who was it earlier than?
Drawn calm down.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
all right.
But sorry, it wasn't in there, I hadn't looked at my emails for several days, so. So do we have, this is just for him, mainly material. Michael, do we know what the holdup is? He hadn't done a whole lot of work down there lately. Do we?
I don't know on that.
Okay. I'll hit you up about it next week and see what's going on. But anyway, he's got his material down there. He's got a lot of material down there that look like, I mean, yeah, I drove by there today. He's done some work, but this is pretty standard. So, got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve drawdown number 75 and authorize payment.
Second.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Rudick?
Yes.
Pankowski?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes. Item number 76 is a approved drawdown number 76. This is from Myers. There's three of them that are attached for that. One of them is, one of them for $2,016, that's actually the staking, on, he's 94% complete, he's gonna draw off of that, that was a bid item. He's got $3,841, on the next invoice, and that is for designing, this lift station on Harrah Road, because he wasn't gonna charge $30,000 to do that, and I just went back and talked to him, he said he'd do it for about 10 if he doesn't by the hour, because we'll inspect some of it. And the last one is, the lift station down on Harrah Road, it's his engineering fees, he's 95% complete, he's drawn $1,677, which he's drawn a total of $734.50.
Well, I the guy that doesn't read his email, I guess.
Hey, don't feel bad.
I make a motion to approve drawdown number 76 and authorize payment.
I'll say,
It was graduation day yesterday and today. I printed it out.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Rudick?
yes.
Pankowski?
Yes.
Guzekowski? Trent?
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna open up items J and K simultaneously, or actually, executive session under provision 5, Oklahoma statute 307B2 pertaining, and that dated on the firefighter.
Are we gonna table the?
No. No. Table what?
D, item B,
What did I miss on D?
commercial rates.
Oh, I'm sorry, then let me jump back.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Oh. Okay, what did yours say?
Didn't you bring it out?
Apparently not, I've got executive session on D.
Mine says possible action on commercial.
I don't have that on mine.
You print
Uh,
off the.
Item D, discussion of possible action on commercial utility rates. Okay, what that is on commercial utility rates is whenever we have commercial buildings dumping into our sewer system, right now, everybody's charged the same rate as residential. And I think the commercial rates need to be different than residential. Especially not only rates on that, but our industrial, commercial, and residential, we need 3 different rates.
I was gonna say, doesn't it depend on what they put in, is Harps an industrial rate, a commercial rate? Is the gas station a commercial, are they dumping something down that affects the lines worse than a house?
Usually restaurants are the biggest problems.
Yeah.
Usually grease. But you can get into industrial park and you don't know what they're dumping down sometimes. They're not supposed to.
I'm trying to figure out what's dumped on Main Street, cause it stinks like hell when I go down there. I'm serious.
Well, it did for a while, but that line broke under.
I went
They
down
fixed
there the
it.
day before yesterday to talk to somebody, and I couldn't stand it when I got out of my truck, the smell was so bad.
You know what that is, Jerry?
I was just down there the other day and
It was sewage, yeah, well.
His senses are going.
I mean, it was down there for when the sewer line underneath the bridge was leaking out. We had to.
The people, I will tell you what the people told me, Jerry. They told me that Jerry said it's one of the houses on this street. It's one of those
There
houses.
was a house down that their sewer line busted going across the creek, and they fixed it now, and maybe busted again, I'll have to go look.
It stinks.
Okay, so.
I'm sorry.
So right now, we have, I mean, do we charge, and I don't even know what a residential rate is, I didn't find that out probably. But do we need to charge more for commercial rates on sewage versus?
Well, I would argue yes, but I mean, is it, we're not gonna make a decision tonight, right? This is just discussion.
Just discussion.
So in the event of the 29th Street, what we're talking about, we've had that discussion, you know, you've got one lift station dumping multiple buildings sewage in there. We have to in that sense, but yet, are we talking about changing the rate for like, what, a restaurant in the city?
Usually you do commercial rates straight across the board, and if it's a gas station, a restaurant.
You know, go by somewhere and see all the greases.
Well,
You go through
but
the
the thing of
drive-thru.
is, you know, on that industrial park now, that's a whole nother deal more or less. You know, and if they tie all the water and sewer in like they're supposed to, or they're gonna make them supposedly, then we're gonna monitor their water rates. So we're gonna know what goes through.
Well, does Jerry know that certain places, commercial places, cause more problems for your sewer than?
Restaurants,
I mean, you've got data on that, right?
as far as which one?
Yeah, the commercial places around the city that are more problematic.
You really can't say, and I'll say, speaking for Jerry here, and you can correct.
You can't say which one it is.
Right,
Yeah.
because go down south, I mean, you got Brahms, Sonic, McDonald's, Little Caesars that,
All tying in there.
all tying into that
The
same
average
one, so they're all
homeowner will take
combined.
that grease and dump it down the sink, and off it goes, and coagulates it out in the system, and that just keeps going, and next thing you know, we got a big grease problem.
Not this average homeowner.
That's good. You're on septic, don't
I am.
So, anyway, that's just something we
So
need to think
my
about.
concern would be, the only concern I have with, and I know a problem, maybe we look at other cities, get the planning commission to look at the other cities, or we can, or whatever. But also, I have just the slightest concern with our existing commercial company, or commercial businesses in town, just all of a sudden, like double or triple their sewage rate.
I'm not talking that, I don't
I'm
think.
talking about, is there like a grandfather thing, or what are we talking about?
Well, it don't matter, you know, and I'll just, your grandfather, Sonic in, Brahms in, that's actually doing most of the damage, you know, I say no. I say, if you're gonna do it, you do it straight across the board.
Can you do it gradually,
We could do it,
increase for
we could,
commercials?
if we're setting a fee, we can always up the fee, and, but the thing of it is, I mean, let's just sit here and say, do we just make it 25% higher than residential? That's not a big, no, you know, and see what that does, you know, but then also, on that behalf is at least we've got something in place that we're starting. That's the only thing I'm looking at, is that we're starting.
I just don't wanna crush a small business because
And
the
I-
sewer
and I-
rate's tripled or something.
And I don't even, no, I don't wanna sit here and, you know, go from $100 a month to $300. I don't wanna do that, you know. But if we did it gradual, I think we'd be okay. So, let me find out why that.
We still check, see what's around. Well,
See, that is where I would get into it. Yeah, I know you're talking restaurants, but I could be a commercial business that the only thing that's going down there is water. I mean, toilet.
Oh, I mean, use an insurance company or a tag agency. or,
Right, you're gonna
you
call
know.
them commercial business, they're gonna pay 25% more.
I'd like
Well-
to see what other cities are doing.
We can find out.
Yeah, I think that.
There's gotta be commercial rate 1, 2, 3 or something.
Well, I know, I can tell you, I found out.
You don't think so?
Oh, no, I know, Lubbock, we found out down in Lubbock, but Marcos, they charged it, and we argued this here, and actually, they changed it, but they put them at the same rate capacity as a Starbucks, because they had a drive-through window. And he said, sit here and said, the owner said, argued with him, I mean, and this was a $7,000 fee that's hitting him on, an impact fee up front. It was actually $28,000 when we started, we got it down to $7,000. But they was rating him the same as the Starbucks, just because he had a drive-through window. Everybody that had a drive-through window automatically went to this highest rate there was. And he says, I don't do the That's the Starbucks stuff. He said, counting Starbucks cars and count my cars in a day, there's no you know, there's a lot of difference in what I, so.
Hey, coffee grounds.
So, okay, let's, so why don't we, see if we can find out what other cities are charging. So we'll start there and take no action on that. So now let me go to Jay and Kay. How's that?
Okay.
Another quick question before you do that.
Yes.
When we discussed the 23-24 fiscal year budget,
Which item is that?
it's on H. as
It's
well.
on both agendas.
It's on both agendas.
Oh, but you tabled it.
You did say.
Yeah.
You tabled it.
Oh, did we? Oh, okay, I missed that, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I thought you moved that.
Okay, yeah, it'll be a long night.
I
So,
know, I'm sorry.
no, you're good. So item J and K, executive session on that
That's K and I.
K and I.
Yeah.
So one's on the firefighter and the other one's discussion of the city.
Oh, L, I see.
K and L, it's not even K and I, it's K and L.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
I make a motion to go into executive session, but we can take a break first.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Second.
You need a break.
Hold on, Tim, we gotta
Need a
take a
break,
vote.
Bernie.
A second.
We got in
Tim,
trouble.
you gotta take a second.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Pankowski?
Yes.
Kozowski? Rudick?
Yes.
Scalzo?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We're in trouble with taking a break.
I'm going home.
Not too bad.
I didn't make the motion.